evening, Niner fans. How are we feeling? How are we doing? It's been a few days since I've been on live. It's actually been a little bit more than a week. Usually I go live on Tuesday with Larry Krueger. Last night just got a little busy, and then Monday as well. Just didn't get a chance to go live on those days with Ted and Larry. But we're live tonight. We're gonna talk about Jauan Jennings. Obviously, we got to talk about that. Just been busy with work, so apologize for not being live lately. At a lot of things going on. It's funny because my daughter was even like, "You haven't been live in a long time." She's like, "Well, you okay?" She was like, "Make sure I was okay." I was like, "Yeah, just busy. I got put the roof over our head and pay the bills." So, been working a lot this summer. That's how we do it. Every off season, work a lot so I don't have to work as much during the football season. But anyways, I digress. 49ers news today was robust. It was great. The 49ers are in week 2 of OTAs. So there's some things to talk about. And the big news of the day was the 49ers gave Jauan Jennings a contract extension. Now they've talked about this over the last couple of weeks that they're trying to get him extended the last couple of months, actually. We all know that they offered him the tender of the 1 year tender deal, right? We all remember that, but he never officially signed it. Jauan Jennings being he never officially signed it, and John Lynch says they've been working to get that extension. They want to keep him longer than just 1 year. So today they agreed on the extension. So if you think about it, it's technically a 2 year deal, but then at the same time, if you factor in he was already going to play this year under a 1 year deal, it becomes a 1 year extension. So he's back on the team for 2 years. We all knew he was going to play this year, but it ends up being a 2 year contract because of the fact of, okay, he signed for this year and then they extended the extra year. But the way it was written from Adam Schefter is, yeah, it's 2 year contract deal, but it was a 1 year extension on top of the 1 year he was going to get. So a little technicality, but it's not a bad move for getting Jauan Jennings, who we all know is so critical to this team. He's a very underrated player. You get the casual fan, they see his stats and they're, "Oh, well, Jauan Jennings doesn't put up big stats," but we see what he does: third downs, extends plays. He's a first down machine, red zone guy when they give him those opportunities. He blocks. He does all the intangibles. He'll get under your skin. We all know Jauan Jennings is a dog, right? And the contract, if you think about it, was pretty damn good. 2 year deal worth $15.4 million, including $10.5 million guaranteed. $10.5 million guarantee for a 7th round pick. That's phenomenal for Jauan Jennings. Like, first and foremost, congratulations to Jauan Jennings, right? It is absolutely amazing to know that Jauan Jennings was a 7th round pick, just like Brock Purdy, a 7th round pick, and they're getting paid because they put in the hard work and effort. And if you watched Jauan Jennings, when he was signing his contract and they were showing him, with John Lynch and everything, like, that's what he says. He says hard work pays off. Like, let's roll the clip, guys.
Hard work put into these years, man. Knowing it paid off.
What's up, JJ?
It's possible. Hey!
How you doing, man?
What? You should know, baby. Unbelievable.
I mean, like he said, hard work pays off. He was a 7th round pick. His first year in the league, he didn't really play because he had a hamstring injury. Remember that first year he was like on the PUP list. He never really got much burn because he was dealing with the hamstring injury, and he worked his way up that roster. Now he's a very important player. I mean, if the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl, he was probably going to be your Super Bowl MVP. Throwing a touchdown, catching a touchdown. The guy was a dog. And here's more of what he said today.
What's up, faithful? JJ, man. So excited. This moment is unreal. Can't wait to rock out with y'all. As y'all can see, man, it's a big moment, man, for me and my family. And for this team, too. Can't wait to bring one home next year. Let's go.
So obviously he's excited. The team's excited. You see that gap up he had with John Lynch. He's fresh. I love it, man. I love it. I absolutely love the fact that Jennings is back and better than ever. We all needed it, man. This is great for the culture. Take a look at a couple of your questions out there. What's up, 49ers throwback? Steve-O knows. Hey, Peter Parker says he got that dog in him. Absolutely. Julia says it's a steal of a contract. Jimmy says, what's up? Steve-O says, hey, Raj, my brother, are you going to week 1 versus the Jets? I'm flying in from Canada to see the game. I'll be there. My man, I will be at week 1. Niners, Jets, Monday Night Football, the whole season opener, home opener. I'll be there for sure. Any news you got about week 1? Glad to see 3rd and 1 get paid. Jauan get paid. I haven't heard much other than the fact that they're playing the Jets. I know there's a lot of hype. Aaron Rodgers, he's working his way back from his Achilles injury last year. And the 49ers are trying to get ready, which looks like they've been really working hard during OTAs, everybody that's been there. So nothing crazy new right now for week one. Obviously, the 49ers are favored. There is a little bit more injury news that we should probably talk about because we want to talk about OTAs. But before we get to that, just real quick, I want to go over the Jauan Jennings situation back. Um, you know, a lot of people were commenting today that, oh, okay, Ayuk is done. He's not going to come back. Ayuk's going to get signed, man. Like, this is the other thing. There's reports that the contract negotiations are still going on. The 49ers remain positive and upbeat that they want to make this happen. Brandon Ayuk's going to do his social media game. He's going to post his cryptic messages, whatever. That's what he's going to do. But the 49ers are really trying to make sure that they sign Brandon Ayuk. Now, you got to remember, on June 1st, in 2 more days, the cap jumps a little bit. Remember the post-June cut money gets restored. 49ers, they don't have uh, Eric Armstead anymore. So his money gets June 1st cut, right? And then they get $18 million in cap space. So the 49ers have cleared a lot of cap space. You remember other players this offseason made some pay cuts, Kittle, etc. A couple other players, Fred Warner, they shifted some money into a pay bonus so the 49ers can get extra money. And this is why they did it. And I'm pretty sure by the time training camp rolls around in July, Brandon Ayuk will have his contract. He's the next one up. John Lynch has told us time and time again they're working towards it. They're going to make sure they prioritize it. They want to have Brandon Ayuk on this roster for the long term. I don't think just because they got Jauan Jennings that they're not going to be able to sign Ayuk. I mean, again, $15 million deal, $10 million guaranteed. That's not a whole lot in terms of wide receivers. And I know the 49ers still want to pay Ayuk. We know his price is up towards the point of, where he wants to be at that Amon-Ra level. And I think we can still pay him again because the cap space is going to go up shortly with the $18 million cap increase from the post June 1st, cut date for Armstead. And I'm sure the 49ers are working tirelessly on this. But just because they signed Jennings doesn't mean it's the end of the road for Brandon Ayuk. And just like John Lynch said, they've been working trying to get Jennings on a long-term deal with the 49ers, or at least an extension, not just a one-year deal, which they did, 2-year deal. He said the same thing, that they've been trying to extend Brandon Ayuk, and I think it'll all come down. But everybody wants it now. Got to have a little patience. So, um, my man says, any chance you can message me or email me? I really want to meet up and take a pic. Been following you for years. I know you've been following me for a long time. Definitely, as it gets closer to the game, we'll chop it up. We'll talk to the game. Hit me up on IG or whatnot, and we'll figure something out as it gets closer to the game. I'm excited. I always love taking pics with the faithful and talking to you guys before the game. It's always a good time. My man Throwback says Jauan Jennings is the Seahawks and Eagles killer. He's definitely a killer of those teams. He's just a killer, man. In general, he's like Peter Parker said. He's got that dog in him. The guy's an unbelievable, underrated player, and he's not going to be a Jauan. He's not going to be a Justin Jefferson type player. He's not. He's not CeeDee Lamb. He's not your Jamar Chase. He's not your top level wide receiver, but he's so good. And what he does for the 49ers is something that people don't realize. Again, he's not going to be beating you at blistering speed, but he goes out there. He's tough. He can block. He can get open. He's very physical. He's a tough receiver to defend. And when you got Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel out there, and then you got to worry about Jauan Jennings on third down, he's going to use his leverage to get open. And again, I'm so happy that Jauan Jennings got paid. The seventh round pick, man, that's fantastic money for a guy that a lot of seventh round receivers barely even scratched the surface on a team. This guy was moments away from winning Super Bowl MVP last year, and this guy's getting paid now $15 million over 2 years. Shout out to Jauan Jennings, man. That's a huge deal for him. I'm proud of him. I'm so happy for the guy. Like he said, hard work pays off. So but again, I think that this 49ers team will be rock and rolling when the season starts. So Julius Callaway says Purdy's going to be throwing to some dogs this season. CMC, Debo, Ayuk, Slick Rick, Third, and Jauan, Stone Cold Kittle. Yeah, the weapons are still intact. The same great players that they had last year, and then they added Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowling. Let's not forget about him. I hear he's doing really good right now in OTA. So 49ers weapons are absolutely off the charts, just like they were last year, and they added to that. So Brock Purdy's only going to get better. This team's only going to get better. I'm excited. I still think this is one of the top teams in the NFL. NFC wise, they're still the top dogs. They got the target on them. People will be coming for the Niners, though. So it'll be interesting to see if the 49ers can stick to it. And, they're going to be the hunted. Can they continue to rise to the top and make it to the Super Bowl? They've been targeted for many years, but now it's going to be even bigger target coming off the Super Bowl again. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. Jauan Jennings back in the action. This guy's only going to get better. And his message today on his Instagram, if you guys saw it, we posted it. This is what he said. He said, I am thankful beyond imagination. Big year on the way for 49ers fans. Like, he is so ready to earn this contract, to show himself. He's ready, man. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. My man, 49ers throwback says George Kittle seemed optimistic to be back for training camp. And let's talk about this because this was the next topic that I actually had on the docket today. So, yeah, George Kittle actually talked about his offseason core muscle surgery. We knew he got it. We've talked about this before, but he revealed some information about his surgery that he had this offseason and the actual injury. So it appears that he actually played through this injury for almost 10 weeks. So he played through the core muscle injury for 10 weeks. The man had over 1,000 yards receiving this year. That's fantastic. And a lot of people doubt, we're trashing Kittle and the Super Bowl performance and this and that. Listen, man, this guy, and along with a lot of other players on this team, it's not just Kittle. A lot of players played through injury, but Kittle's a dog, man. He played like 10 weeks through a core muscle injury, suited up. He was hurt, man. And the way he plays for this team is so damn amazing. He's physical, he's one of those guys that's just like, we need Kittle. And his personality to go out there and play the way he is and act the way he does and try to do what he could to help this team win a Super Bowl. For me, I got a lot of respect for the guy. I know a lot of fans hating on him because his Super Bowl performance, whatever the case is. He played through an injury, man, and that should garner a lot of respect. Let's hear what he said at the presser today.
Coming along, progressing as planned. Goal is to be back ready for training camp, and all signs point to I will be ready for training camp.
How long were you dealing with that specific injury last year?
Quite a while. I'd say kind of like week 9, 10. We took some MRIs of it and some stuff didn't show up, so we weren't really entirely sure what we were dealing with until I got the surgery. So that was a tough one. So we tried to figure it out, but just things weren't popping up on the scans, and so just something that we were playing through probably for 10 weeks. It's fun stuff.
When you say we were playing through, you?
Oh, me in the training room. They tried, doing everything they can, to just help keep me on the field as much as I possibly could, trying to miss any practice and stuff like that, and they did a great job of that. And so it wasn't the most fun, but still could play at a high level.
There you go, man. This guy, he played through it. I don't want to hear any George Kittle slander after hearing that kind of stuff. Like, the guy plays his ass off, man. He had 1,020 yards receiving last year. 1,000 yards receiving. One of his best years of his career, and he played through a core muscle injury. You know how much that hurts? And the way he plays, and he has to block, and he has to do everything. George Kittle's a dog, man. And shout out to the training staff is right. They got him right. I remember every week he was missing practices, and they were trying to make sure he was ready. Playoffs is tough, and he stuck with it, and he had a hell of a season, man. I mean, a fantastic year. So shout out to Stone Cold Kittle, man. He deserves to be slamming those beers down this offseason as he recovers from the core muscle surgery. And he says he'll be ready by training camp, or that's the goal. So a couple questions here I want to get to. Julius Calloway says, any predictions on the starting offensive line? It's a good question because another thing I wanted to talk about today is Jake Brendel has not been at OTAs the last couple of weeks. I know last week we mentioned it. He's got some knee arthritis he's dealing with. It's kind of a bad deal for a center, for an offensive lineman to be dealing with knee arthritis. So that kind of changes up the way I look at this total roster, right? So if you look about it, Brendo should be your starting center, but it's not a guaranteed at this point. You have the uh, usual suspects there, that you could probably pencil in, right? Like a John Feliciano, maybe he could slide into center. They did have Drake Nugent, the undrafted guy that really looks like a strong possibility to make this roster. We all, heard a lot of hype about him when the Niners added him to the roster, undrafted. Drake Nugent could be the starting center, but I mean, it's a long way for a rookie to climb if Jake Brendel can't make it. And Dominic Pooney, the rookie offensive lineman they drafted out of Kansas. So Chris Forster today mentioned that how he's a good pass blocker in college, right? He didn't have any sacks allowed at Kansas, and he'll need to improve his offensive line blocking scheme in terms of running, which it seems like he's going to be kind of penciled in at that guard spot where he really was comfortable in college playing, and I don't think they're going to want to tinker him and put him at center. And they even said they probably aren't going to be playing him at center anytime soon, so they're going to really want to focus him as a guard at the next level. So really, it's tough that center spot. If Jake Brendel doesn't make it back, or if he's still dealing with the knee injuries, again, you got Nick Zakel, who was there, for the last couple of years, Brock Purdy's roommate, and then Drake Nugent. Those are the two guys that are young enough to maybe take that next climb. I don't know if they're going to be ready. They're still young. So then Feliciano, would he slide into the center spot? It's tough. Hopefully Jake Brendel can become ready and healthy because we need a center. You don't want to just throw anybody out there. It's a very important position for the 49ers, for any team on an offensive line. So obviously Trent Williams, Aaron Banks on the left side. There's no question about it. I think Pooney, if he can really have a strong training camp, he can play right guard, but I think he's got his work cut out for him because Feliciano's a 10-year vet, and it's going to be hard to take that spot from him. I honestly think that Colton McKivitz will be your starting right tackle. I've said this a couple times on a couple different streams. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I think Dominic Pooney may challenge for the right guard spot, but I think it's ultimately going to be Feliciano and then Colton McKivitz. So do I think Kingston has a shot at center? I don't know. I still think he's a very raw prospect, and he's got a long way to go, especially rookies. I feel like these rookies got a long way to go. So I don't think Kingston has a shot right now at center. We'll see. We'll see how he transcends to the next league, to the next level in the next couple of months. I just feel like the Jake Brendel injury might be a little bigger than we are kind of thinking right now. So keep an eye on that one. My man, 49ers throwback says Burford has it, according to Forrester. He just has to show it. Yeah, and we all know Spencer Burford. He had a great rookie season, kind of had a disappointing second year. But you got to remember, in his first year, he split a lot of reps, with Dan Brunskill. So they kind of kept him fresh. And then last year, they gave him a higher amount of snap counts, and they ramped his usage. So maybe he just wasn't ready to take that leap last year. And you could tell he played a little tired at times. He was a little sluggish. Maybe his third year, his conditioning is better, and he can take that leap because Spencer Burford was really solid that first year. This last year, he had a lot of bad mistakes and little penalties here and there. And, maybe he can figure that next level out in terms of becoming stronger, faster, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. A couple other questions. Luis says, why a 2-year deal, though, for Jauan Jennings? So they didn't want to just get him a 1-year deal because he was going to sign his contract tender that they had offered. So if the 49ers were only going to give Jauan Jennings a 1-year deal, which, would have been the tender and then whatever, after this season, he'd be a free agent. Then he could sign wherever he wanted to. And I think his price would have been too high for the 49ers next year to match or whatever, and then he would have probably got a multi-year deal. So now the 49ers essentially, okay, they gave him his 1-year deal that he was going to get. And next year, they don't have to worry about re-signing him. So they got kind of a steal of a deal with Jennings for 2 years, 15 mil. And then if he proves it again next year, he can get another extension for another 2 years. So 49ers don't want to put themselves in this position where they just sign 1-year contracts, which Lynch was talking about that a few months ago. But they also don't want to sign these guys to like major deals, 4 or 5 years in case they get hurt. And also they have Cowing and they have Parsall, and it depends on how they kind of develop in the league, right? And then you have Brandon Ayuk. You don't want to put all your chips on Jennings when you have a big contract that you're still trying to figure out with Brandon Ayuk. I think 2 years is great. You get Jauan Jennings for this year. Next year, you won't have to worry about paying him a huge amount because you got him locked in for the extra year. And then he'll be on a contract next year. He'll want to play, prove himself even more. So if he wants to earn more money, he's got to have another big year. So I think it's smart investment by the 49ers. It's okay. We want you for 2 years. That way he doesn't hit the market next season as a free agent and you lose him. So at least you keep him for the 2 years, and he's going to be money motivated. If he wants to make more money, go out there and ball out again, Jauan. So overall, I think that's why they kept it as a 2-year deal. You don't want to overstay his welcome. You want him to earn that money. If he would have got 5-year deal, would have got lax towards the end of it. Maybe not play as hard. Although I know Jennings is a tough player and he's always gives his all, but you don't want to get these players to get a little too comfortable. So that's the way I kind of see it. Um, Let's see. What's up, Nathan Banks? Julia says, who do you think would win the running back 2 job behind CMC? I've said this many times that I really think Jordan Mason's going to be running back 2 this season. He's had a couple years under his belt on the offense. I feel like he's become a really hard worker. But don't be surprised if Isaac Garendo makes some noise. He's a very fast guy. He's a very fluid player, a weapon, and he's like an ultimate weapon. And I feel like that Kyle Shanahan would throw him in on certain packages to really open it up and give a little rest to CMC here. But I think Jordan Mason wins it just because he's put in the time over the last couple of years. But I could also see Jordan Mason being, if he has a fantastic camp and Isaac Garendo is coming up and we're like, wow, this guy's really good as a rookie, I think Jordan Mason might have some trade value. I will say, I love Elijah Mitchell. I love his talent, but the guy has had a lot of injury risks, and I think that's why they grabbed Isaac Garendo to be that insurance policy for Elijah Mitchell. And if Elijah Mitchell becomes expendable, you can trade him. You're not going to get much out of Elijah Mitchell, maybe a 7th round, 6th round pick, but at the end of the day, you want your players to be healthy. I love Mitchell, but he might become expendable if Isaac Garendo can really step up. But I think Jordan Mason will win running back too. We'll see how it goes though in training camp. Dotted faces. Can you explain for me, since I don't know how the Ayuk extension could happen and how does it work? So he's on a 5th-year option this year. So he's getting paid whatever that 5th-year option. So even if they extend him, it's not like they have to pay him the 30 million, 28, whatever he's going to get a year this year. So this year he's on the books for the what, like 15 million dollars on the 5th-year extension. And then next year, the 5th-year option. And then once they reach that extension, boom, the money will kick in next year on what he's going to be making in the future. Let's just say, for example, 28 million. They come to that agreement. Then next year he'll be on the books for 28 million. So right now they're still trying to work on that extension for the future after this year, because my boy Brandon Ayuk is on a 5th-year option that they were able to pick up this year. So now they have that window to negotiate. Typically, that's what these 1st-round players do, and that's what happens when you have a 1st-round player, a player that's drafted in the 1st round. You sign a 4-year contract, and then there's a 5th-year option if you want to, go ahead and activate that. So that's where Brandon Ayuk is right now. They activated that 5th-year option. He's going to play on that 5th-year option, but he's seeking an extension so he can, stay with the team, get the money he wants, and continue to be here. If he doesn't get that contract next year, he gone. He's going to take the bag. He's going to try to get paid. But if you feel like it's going to be a situation where you don't think you're going to be able to extend the player, or if he's like unhappy and it becomes that situation, that's when players and teams say, hey, we got to cut the cord and we got to trade you. It's best for both of us. And you try to get your max options. That's why when the draft comes, teams are trying to take the players that might be disgruntled or they want more money. So if there's a team that has $300 million to spend, I'm just throwing that number out there, and they're like, we got a lot of money to spend, we want to improve our team, they'll throw you all these draft picks so they can sign the player, trade him to their team, and then pay him the money that they feel that he deserves. So it's a negotiation, it's a balance, it's all about, it's just a lot of strategy, and it's tough to be an owner, front office member of the NFL, but you got to be able to make your players happy, just like if you're a manager at a job, right? You want to make your employees happy. That's what it is. But they also want to get compensated, right? Brandon Ayuk wants to be compensated for the amount of work he puts in. But ultimately, I think the 49ers will reach an extension by July once training camp hits, maybe 4 years. So after this year, 49ers will have Ayuk extended for 4 more seasons on a maybe $28 million a year deal. So that's kind of what my prediction is. So we shall see. My man Dotted says, so no matter what, he's going to make that amount he's set to make this year. Yeah, so this year he's set to make what he's making on the 5th-year option. But next year, that's where he wants to eat. After this 5th-year option, he's trying to get paid buku bucks. That's what he's trying to. That's what the extension's all about, is after your contract is done. So your contract has to pay you what the worth is. So if it's 5 years and your deal says on that fifth year it's $20 million, you get paid $20 million on that year. Now after that, whatever you negotiate is whatever you get. So if he negotiates $28 million for next year and the following years, that's when they can kick that in, and that's what Ayuk will have to take because he'll negotiate with his agent. Now, then there's incentives that you have to reach. So if the contract says if you catch 50 first downs, you get another $1 million. Once he hits 50 first downs, boom, he'll get another $1 million. And that's how incentives work. So there's so much like terminology and fine print and details that go into these contracts. So it's not just like they happen overnight. And the 49ers take a little bit more time because they like to put a lot of incentives. They like to put all this like different language. The Niners take a little bit more time compared to other teams. Other teams are all right. Here it is. I'm gonna pay you $50 million, you whatever, blah blah, blah, and they get it done. Niners take their time. They like to negotiate. Their front office. They like to kind of slow play things. I don't know. I don't really like it, but it works out. In the end, they pretty much signed everybody they needed to sign. So, Rob says, "Sorry I'm late, but Jeff Garcia interview on the East Coast Red and Gold was awesome. I missed it. I might have to check that out. I love Jeff Garcia. Anytime he gets on some type of podcast or show, that guy is very passionate. He just steals the spotlight. So I got to check that out. Um, let's see. My man Invader 49er says the cap goes up every year. It's all about staggering the hits. Yeah, and that's another concept that's true is the cap space typically goes up every year. NFL is making tons of money. Their revenues at an all-time high, and every year this cap space is going higher. So that's why the teams can start to afford to pay guys a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. That's why we're getting these groundbreaking contracts. So yeah, as long as people love the NFL, tune in, and all these deals are getting signed by the networks, money's going up, and money's great. And if people love the NFL, like I like other sports. I used to love baseball. I can't even watch it. I can't stomach watching baseball anymore. It's like, okay. I like basketball during the playoffs. Like the NBA playoffs have kept me entertained. But I tell you what, man, there's nothing like football. I miss football. It's just another vibe. Football is so popular in the United States. Worldwide, obviously, soccer, the other football is super popular, but not as much in the United States. We all love football. That's like the top sport nowadays. It used to be, you know, baseball was America's pastime. I feel like slowly over the last couple of years, after the last decade, football's kind of taken over that top spot. And fantasy football, the way that goes, is so much competition, money, sports media, just so much goes into the NFL and advertising and everything that I feel like it's the top dog now. But yeah, that's my overall take. That was a good question overall. So a couple other things, like I said, 49ers, obviously not everybody's practicing because of the fact of it's voluntary. OTAs are not mandatory. These guys don't have to be there. It's good for some of the veterans to be there. Now it's good for some of these players to be there. For the younger players like Nick Bosa, it's amazing that he's there. He's locked in. From what I heard yesterday at the State of the Franchise event, Nick Bosa is just saying all the right things. I'm so locked in. I'm ready to roll. And we've heard his press conference last week where he talked about how he's just so amped up for the season. And it's nice to see Bosa being available at OTAs. And we talked about how last week Kyle Shanahan was like, "Oh, it's so nice to have Bosa out there." So that is nice. Couple players that didn't show up. You got to remember, there's some players that are hurt, like Mooney Ward's going through the core muscle injury, just like George Kittle. Talanoa Hufanga, obviously the ACL. Dre Greenlaw, the Achilles. He's not there. Jake Brendel, he's dealing with the arthritis. Trent Williams doesn't need to show up. Drake Jackson, he had the knee surgery. Malik Collins, he's with family right now doing some. He's excused. But other players that weren't involved at OTAs right now, you have Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Conley, John Feliciano, Chris Hubbard, Cam Latu. Those are guys that aren't there. I don't think they have an injury. Maybe Cam Latu has something. I know he dealt with an injury last year, so maybe he still has lingering effects. He had the hamstring issue last year. Maybe he's still dealing with that. But people are worried. There's a lot of smoke on the timeline about Christian McCaffrey. Oh, is he trying to get a bigger contract, just like Brandon Ayuk? Listen, Chris McCaffrey posted today on his Instagram that he's training. He does his own thing. His Christian McCaffrey. He's gonna be ready. He's also getting married in June, later this month and next month. He's getting married in like 2 weeks to Olivia Culpo. I'm pretty sure he's good. I'm pretty sure he's fine. He's got a marriage to worry, but let that man get his marriage. Let that man get his ring. Let that man have his honeymoon. Let that man get that great marriage and ceremony in it. Just let Christian McCaffrey be Christian McCaffrey. He'll be fine when it's training camp. I'm pretty sure Christian McCaffrey's going to be there. But there's a lot of speculation on CMC. I'm so happy he posted on his story on his Instagram today to show like, hey guys, I'm making sure I'm ready. I'm Christian McCaffrey. You really think Christian McCaffrey's not going to be ready? I mean, come on. It's silly. Like if you see, I've seen so many people on on social media, sitting there on Twitter, like, oh my God, Christian McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's not there. What is he? Oh, it's just like, come on, dude. Christian McCaffrey is gonna be there, guys. He's gonna be ready. People are making so much out of nothing on CMC. Let the man get married. Let the man get married. So, that's a good question. A couple more questions. We'll do about a few more questions, and I'm about to. Julia says, "Who do you think is higher on the depth chart between Persall and Jennings as of today?" Jauan Jennings. I love Persall. I love the pick. I think he has great potential, but that rookie's got a long way to go to top Jauan Jennings. I think obviously today speaks volumes of what the 49ers think of him. 2-year deal worth $15 million as a seventh round pick. This man is a very vital part of this team. I think he's definitely higher on the depth chart. Now, I'm not saying that Ricky Persall won't pass him. It's first round pick. This guy's supposed to be a star. He's going to be a good part of the 49ers offense if he, develops the way he needs to. But as of right now, it's Jauan Jennings. Absolutely. Good question, though. My man S. Flood, what's good, baby boy? He says, you think Huff will be ready to start the season? It's a good question, and that's what the 49ers are hoping for. He's out there rehabbing. He's doing his thing. ACL injury is not easy. I think he has the mindset. I think it's going to be close. I think he's going to want to try to push himself, but it really depends on how he feels once he starts doing team-specific drills and goes out there scrimmage. If he gets to the point where he's, able to do that kind of stuff, we'll really see how the knee responds to pain and loading on it and putting a lot of pressure and, again, sports-specific drills. So I think he has an outside chance to be ready for the season. But if he's not ready for the start of the season, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be like, oh my God. So that's why I've been saying all offseason that safety is a big position for this team. They've been really trying to sign a lot of players. They've added some people here and there just in case, like Rock Sin and a couple other players they've added over the last couple of months. They drafted Malik Mustafa. Obviously, Jair Brown's a guy that's supposed to take a big leap. They've been looking for safety help. They've really been wanting to add guys to this roster, but they haven't been able to get players like Justin Simmons, who was initially rumored, Julian Blackman, because they couldn't guarantee a starting spot for those guys because they're not 100% sure if Hufanga is going to be back, which Simmons and Blackman, great players, but they're not going to take a second fiddle role. They want to still be starters or still high quality players in the league. So a lot really rides on the return to Talanoa Hufanga. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say 80% chance that Hufanga will be ready by week 1, but there's still that 20% chance that he's not. So definitely a good question. My man Invader 49 says, I don't expect Rocky Sin to make the team. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to make the 53 man. I heard some things about him today. I heard he got banged up, according to Nick Wagner. He limped on the sideline. I know it's OTAs, it's early, but they got some players. They got a lot of depth out there on the DB side of the ball. They've had some safeties there. It's going to be one of those things where the 49ers, it's going to be a tough roster to crack. Will he be good enough? And they got a lot of younger guys that they can really try to hone and develop. So I don't know. Rocky Sin has an outside chance to make it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ultimately maybe lands on the practice squad. We'll see. Yeah, they signed Yeadam, Luter. They got a lot of defensive backs, So we'll see. Julia says, when's the next quad box debate going to be between you and Smitty? I don't know, but I talk to those guys every day. We text today was crazy after Jennings. Smitty, man, world class hater. He was like, I can't believe they overpaid for Jauan Jennings. I was just, oh my God, this guy is something else. But we definitely got to get Smitty on IG. I just been busy. I haven't been going live lately. So hopefully we can start getting more lives going, um, moving forward. Invader 49er says, does Ben Barch win the center job? I didn't mention him earlier. I forgot to when we were talking about center. Apparently, he's the guy that's kind of filling in right now for Jake Brendel, according to Nick Wagner. So he has a chance. There is a chance for Ben Barch to win that center job. I didn't mention his name, so appreciate you for dropping that name there. That is a guy that has a chance. I mean, he's right now he has a really inside track because the other guys, Drake Nugent and Nick Zakel, especially Drake Nugent, very young, undeveloped player. He's very, he played great in college, but he's never played in the NFL. He's an undrafted guy. He's really got to learn the ropes. So it could be. Again, Jake Brendel injury, to me, it's bigger than a lot of people are maybe thinking about. I don't know. Knee arthritis, to me, for an offensive lineman, it just doesn't sound good. So, anyways, that's it for today. I'm glad to be back. Good to see everybody. I just wanted to keep it brief, short, simple. That was the news for today. 49ers definitely moving in the right direction with the extension of Jauan, the Junkyard Jennings. You guys have a good rest of your night. I'll probably hop on Instagram for a little bit, talk to you guys, and enjoy the rest of the week. We'll love you. Go Niners. Season's getting closer every day, baby. Love you. Bang, bang, Nana gang. Make sure you hit that like button.